center relate the request to the member
Good
states
morning, everybody.
participating states of the EU ISO protection mechanism. And a few hours later, which is a very quick reaction in general, we were able to match fully what the Greeks requested. So this means in practice, two firefighting planes, two helicopters, about 7, 8 crime forces, which are deployed on top of what we had already pre-positioned in Greece. Then again,
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's edition of Contracting Chatter. While we're waiting to get started, I'm watching the news conference from the EU Commission. So grab your business bestie, your contractor's notebook, your favorite bestie. It's time for Contracting Chatter.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's great to hear, but still the response came way too late. So are there
It's interesting what's going on in the EU this morning as it relates to the availability of government contracts and just being aware geopolitically of what's going on. It's something that every business person should be aware of because what goes on in the world does eventually trickle here. We're no longer an island unto, we were never islands unto ourselves. That was a favorite poem of mine that we read when I was in high school. I believe it was written by Jean Donne. And unfortunately, it's no longer a required reading, but it's appropriate. People want to act as though we live, breathe, and move in isolation. And we do not. My glasses are so dirty. And we never have. We live, we breathe, and we move. Good morning, Moses. Interconnectedly. And that's in all of our relationships. And once we remember that, then we can remember and reestablish the relationships we need to establish. We can function the way we need to function. And we can behave the way we need to behave. One of the biggest, good morning, Patty. Excuse me. One of the biggest hindrance to business growth I've seen is this belief that we grow in silos or we grow alone. It's not true. We grow in communities. We grow in partnerships. Good morning, Omega. Good morning, Kiki. Now, contracting chatter, we talk about government contracting, we talk about business. And yesterday, we talked about getting our mindsets right. And this Tuesday morning, and next week is the Democratic National Convention. And I'm going to cover it from a business perspective and how whatever is said next week is supposed to shape business. Keep in mind, whomever lands on Pennsylvania Avenue Whomever you vote for will shape your business. Whomever is running for your local election will shape your business. I have a video on my page that TikTok will not push to the FYP. I don't know why. However, on my business page, it's gotten over 1,000 views. I don't know what TikTok be doing. Talking about following the flow of money. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. I've talked about it before, we're going to talk about it again. And we're going to talk about it until people understand it. The flow of money is simply this. It flows from the top down and the bottom up. Pure, simple. Federal dollars finds its way to the local level. It finds its way to the state, to the county, to the city. Excuse me. In the form of contract vehicles, in the form of grants, in the form of endowments. However, it flows down. It also flows up. When I say flow up, what I mean, the money flows up in that there's duplication of efforts. If you see a contract in one area, one state, one city, one county, there more than likely that contract exists somewhere else. It just may not be in the same name. And that is where a lot of people go wrong. A lot of people are looking for the contract to appear in the same name. So hear me out, walk with me, stay in the car. I remember having a conversation with somebody. And they were complaining about, I'm trying to remember what it was they wanted to perform some service. And I kept telling them that this effort already existed. You just needed to look for it. And they swore up and down it did not. Now, I help businesses do work with the government. They didn't want to hire me. So, of course, I gave them what I could give them and would give them for free. Then they went about their merry way. When I ran into them again, and for those who are watching me on my streaming platforms, for some reason, your comments don't come through all the time. However, if you comment, I will go back and check the comments. So, anyway, when I ran into her later, she was talking about she still couldn't find the contract. Make a long story short, the contract existed. It was just under a different name in the state. If you see a contract for mental health coaching or mental health consulting, it may not appear as mental health consulting in the state of Virginia. It may appear as emotional development for the underprivileged. But there's mental health coaching. Some people are operating under the wrong NACE codes. The contract may be under a management NACE codes in Virginia, but it may be under professional development NACE code in New York. That's why I always tell people, check your NACE codes. If you're having a difficult time locating opportunities. I'm going to even go here. There's a NACE code called Other Government Services that for whatever reason, People never choose when they're choosing ACE codes. Honey, sometimes the person putting together the RFP, they don't know what they're doing. So they use other government services. Money flows down and it flows up, it flows parallel, especially when it flows from the federal level. There's this big education push from the federal government. Now, if you see it on the federal level, it's going to appear in all 50 United States. Do not expect it to have it the same name. Over here, it may be called the Child Savior Act. Thanks, Moses. But over here, it might be called the Save Our Children's Act. Because once it reaches the local level, they have the ability to repackage it. Now, sometimes, thank you. Now, sometimes they're just lazy and just repackage the money. And sometimes they just leave the money how it is. Thank you for the gifts. But you cannot be lazy in government contracting. You cannot be lazy when pursuing opportunity. And it just is what it is. That's what happens a lot of times. We're so busy trying to, or wanting everything to appear the same way, we miss the opportunities. That is why business is not meant to be done in isolation. Business is not meant to be done in a silo. I was just having a conversation, and I shared some information with someone, and this is a little downbeat from yesterday, and I understand that. I have to get my energy back up. But sometimes we can be upbeat and lively, and sometimes we need to be a little more serious. We want what we want, but we haven't flipped the switch in our mindset to really go after what we want. We understand the obstacles and the hurdles, but we're not willing to lift our legs to jump over it. We want to step over stuff that we need to, oh good Lord, that we need to get a running leap over. Now, are we ready to leap or do we want to step? I'm asking a question this morning. Thank you, Kiki. Are we trying to do hello, beautiful? Or are we trying to make an impact or a statement? We're at the half-year mark. We need to make a decision. Once again, are we going to be distracted? Or are we going to stay focused? I'm just asking some questions today. And I'm asking them of myself as well. Because I just downloaded this entirely huge RFP, and I need to ask myself, am I going to commit to the commitment to even read this 200-page thing? And the answer is yes. Am I going to do my own homework? And the answer is yes. But do you know why I can say yes to that? Because I don't do business alone. I'm in community. I have people who check in and check up on me. Oh yeah, it's 200 pages. That's not even the smallest RFP I've seen. I have people who encourage me. You can't do it alone. Now, I'm not talking about Project 2025. I'm talking about an RFP that I'm bidding on. I don't really do political talk often on my platform. I just opened with the DNC because I covered the RNC. And I covered the RNC just to say this is what they're saying and this is how it's going to affect their business should they win the election. I'm going to talk about the DNC next week, and should she win, this is how it affects your business should they take over Pennsylvania Avenue. But I don't talk about politics from this typical political rant that most people do. We have enough political pundits. Somebody needs to talk about it from the viewpoint of this is how it affects your business. This is how it's going to affect your taxes. These are the legislative changes that they're trying to make. Now, Project 2025 is really a think piece. I think the Heritage Foundation wrote. No one who's actually running for office has adopted it as their official platform. And I really wish people would stop talking about it. And they release it every election year. And it's not the only political think piece out there. But and as quiet as it's kept, there's another organization in DC that's on the Democratic side or liberal side. Well, they don't really write bills. They just have a great lobbying platform. The Heritage Foundation has a good lobbying platform, and they do host, and I'm going to go here. A lot of people don't understand this. You can, if you wanted to host an event on the Hill and invite the senators, you can do that. The Heritage Foundation does what everybody here can do. We all have access to the same thing they do. What bills do they write that get enforced? But when I was working for the think tank that I used to work at, I used to attend a lot of events up on the Hill. We can all rent those rooms and invite the senators. Now, whether the actual senators come, after the senators come or they send their aides. Now, here's something tricky. It gets reported senators attend these events and they actually send their aides. But it gets reported that the senator attended the event. So we have to be mindful of some of the stuff that we're reading and we were leaving. Because I know I've attended events and they said Senator so-and-so was at the event. And I was like, I didn't see him. I know his aide was there, but he wasn't there. But when the press piece went out, it went out that he was there. We have to be mindful of some of this stuff. That's why, unfortunately, journalism isn't journalism anymore. It's a dog and pony show. And then when I worked on Capitol Police, they calling a dog a cat, and a pony a bear, and that is what it is. But that's another conversation for another day. But for government contractors in the DC area who are trying to obtain research funds, that is something that you should look into doing. There are rooms that you can rent out on the House side and the Senate side. If you are a caterer in the DC area, I totally forgot about that. If you're a caterer in the DC area, you can get a contract to provide the catering, or if you're close enough to the Senate and Hill and can get the clearance, and I believe all you need is a public trust, and provide the catering for the events on the Senate and the Hill. And that includes the State of the Union address. Just some tips for those who are in the DC area. And that's a lot of money. But if you're looking to get research grants, there are rooms on the Senate and the Hill that you can rent out and invite all of the members. And typically, they will send somebody from their office, or they will send somebody down to pick up your information. But learn the committees you want to target. Always invite your target committees first. But this is what we talk about on Chatter. But I go live at over dark 30 in the morning, so I can follow what's going on the Hill, and then talk about it with you guys. But as I was saying, there's another think piece out there other than Project 2025 that people are sleeping on. If I can remember the name of it, I'll write them down in my notes and talk about it tomorrow. That I think is a little more, I think it dismantles a lot of our civil liberties. So people are up in arms about Project 2025, and they've totally skipped over that think piece altogether. However you land politically, I don't care. That's not my job to tell you how to land. But I think anytime they tell you to constantly look to the left, you need to look to the right. Because there's a car over here that's about to crash into you. And if anybody on board with dismantling the Second Amendment, just look at what happened to the Ukraine. The first thing they had to do was to drop ammunition to those people. I'm just saying, the whole country of Bangladesh, I believe, just went up in smoke. We can't say what's not going to happen anymore. But I said all that to say this. Opportunities are around us everywhere. If you have a security company and you're willing to work overseas, there are opportunities to provide your service overseas. They're looking for security companies to provide security to aid organizations that want to go overseas for some reason to provide aid in certain hot spots globally. Money flows up, money flows down, and it flows parallel if you're willing to take the leaps versus the steps. And with that, Kiki, I don't know if you're still on live, but I need you to hit me up. And okay, I need you to hit me up after the broadcast. Good morning, Miss Cannon. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 7:30 in September. Chatter, I don't know. I think I'm gonna leave Chatter at 7:30 because the election is coming up, and I think I'm gonna talk about the election and all the juicy bits. So 7:30 shall be until the first of the year. So join me tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know it's early, but success isn't always convenience, and it leads a roadmap. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning because the sister needs to finish her coffee and get to reading this RFP. I'll see y'all later. Bye.